Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So when you make a mistake in life, most people know the best way to correct it, to first own it, admit it. Nobody's perfect. It's okay. Then after admitting the error of your ways, you can correct it, change it. On the other hand, when you keep making mistakes and you don't own up to it and you keep repeating the same bad behavior with bad consequences, you're never going to fix it. Some people call that insanity, making the same mistake over and over. Well, one person who seems never to have learned this life lesson is Joe Biden. In his inflation speech today, he continued to play the Biden blame game, whitewashing not only the inflation problem, but also his administration's failure to effectively deal with it. Take a listen.
The first cause of inflation is a once-in-a-century pandemic. A second cause, Mr. Putin's war in Ukraine. Republicans love to attack me as a big spender, as if that's the reason why inflation's gone up.
Well, there you have it. Republicans, Putin, pandemics. Once upon a time, like 2 years ago, during the presidential campaign of 2020, Joe Biden promised different behavior. He was going to take responsibility. Remember this? Take a listen.
The one thing I promise I'll do, I'll take responsibility. When I make a mistake, I'll say it. I'll acknowledge it and fix it.
So here we are in the spring of 2022. Mr. Biden is singing a totally different tune. The causes of inflation, in his view, Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine, the pandemic, price gouging by poultry companies, excess profits by energy companies, rich people, something called Ultra MAGA, something called the Congressional Republican Plan, and, of course, Senator Rick Scott. The only person he missed was the man on the moon. By the way, we will have Senator Rick Scott on the show in just a little while to answer Biden's attack. And then, of course, President Biden says, don't blame his own spending. I love that. That is my single favorite one. Right on. Nah, not his spending. Wouldn't think of it. $2 trillion in March 2021, which really generated a huge inflation that Mr. Biden today denies. Now, Madam Psaki argued yesterday that nobody predicted high inflation a year ago. But, in fact, a number of Democratic economists predicted it and have continued to predict high inflation. Take a listen to one of them.
I think there's a real possibility that within the year, we're going to be dealing with the most serious incipient inflation problem that we have faced in the last 40 years.
Well, of course, a number of conservative economists made the same forecast. And then a recent Fox poll shows President Biden is now totally underwater, 28% to 67% approval, disapproval on inflation. By the way, there was no need for that $2 trillion package over a year ago. The Trump V-shaped recovery was in full force. And frankly, Mr. Biden continues to campaign for more inflationary spending, as he did today. More subsidies, child care, health care, Obamacare, housing, and, of course, green energy. What would a presidential Biden speech be without more money for the Green New Deal? And he's still pushing for some version of his Build Back Better. The latest CBO price out was $5 trillion worth, with $3 trillion of new federal debt. A Biden spokesperson today said that BBB was completely paid for, thereby causing sane people to gasp for breath at the sound of that one. There's never any evidence or official government charges, by the way, of price gouging. And no one knows what excess profits means. Corporate tax revenues, by the way, are coming in hand over fist at record rates as the highly successful Trump tax cuts completely pay for themselves. And then, after accusing Republicans of wanting to raise taxes, well, Mr. Biden reminds us of his own proposal for 36 tax hikes, including 11 on fossil fuels, for a total of $2.5 trillion, which would surely push a shaky economy into a deep recession. Really, I think common sense people would embrace a Biden program that would stop the spending and the energy policies, which really are the root causes of this inflation. Deregulate these off-the-wall progressive environmental restrictions. Reopen permitting for oil, gas, and pipelines. By the way, a reopening of these crazy radical NEPA permitting restrictions would also allow for highway, road, and bridge infrastructure, and even Green New Deal projects like wind turbines and solar and electric charging stations. But Mr. Biden's not going to go there. He's not going to change. He just won't do it. He will not recognize the inflationary problems his policies have caused, even while common sense people of all political stripes see it clearly. Tellingly, one of his spokespeople argued today that the energy crisis was Vladimir Putin's fault, and he cited January 17, 2022, when Putin put troops in Belarus to threaten the Ukraine invasion. Gasoline prices, according to this person, were $3.31. And he argued that today's $4.37 is a function of Putin. Well, okay, but what about the prior year? Because in January 21, gasoline prices were $2.46. So how'd they get from there to $3.31? That's a 35% jump. Well, one key answer is energy supply shortages caused by Biden's jihad against fossil fuels. Same with oil. $52 a barrel in January 1921, $83 a barrel on Biden's January 17th date, up 60%. Well, how'd that happen? Average folks at that point had never even heard of Vladimir Putin. Or the idea is Putin caused energy prices to go up, and energy prices then caused food prices to go up. So it's all Putin's fault. Got it? No, wait a minute. Let's just take energy and food out of the CPI completely. I mean, that's kind of silly because food and energy are what middle-class people buy. But fine, I'm going to play this game. That leaves the so-called core inflation rate. Guess what? On a 12-month basis, core inflation was 1.8% in January 2021. And now it is 6.5%. That's triple the Fed's inflation target of 2%. Well, how'd that happen? I just took Putin out of play. Well, the answer is excessive federal spending, borrowing, money printing. All that has caused virtually all prices to rise throughout the CPI. It's not just single individual prices. It's not even just single global dictators. And because price hikes are so widespread, middle-class folks are paying about a $5,000 per year inflation tax. But whatever you do, remember, do not blame Joe Biden. Nada. All right, that's it.